Hi, welcome back to part two of the Bentley build. And before I start actually cutting any of the parts out and building anything, I thought I'd just run through the parts now I've taken them out of the bags and let you have a look at them. Now, as you can see, there's quite a lot of parts that were off the sprue. Um, One slight concern was this part here, which is one of the mud guards, and it's actually broken in two. It's a very clean break, which is an easy fix. I can glue that back together and clean it up. But the concern I had was that possibly that the plastic had become a little bit brittle because of the age of the styrene. But giving it a flex, it doesn't feel like it's going to break anywhere else. I have had some really old Revell kits just shatter into several pieces. So it's something you do have to look out for. But by and large, this seems okay. I mean, there's some very nice plated parts here. There you go. You look at the plating on that; looks really nice. Now I may keep a few of the parts where the seams can be hidden to keep the plating. I'll obviously weather them slightly, but that seems too good to strip down. But there's other parts that that's not going to be possible. So talking about the plated parts first, this is the sprue with the full chrome, the shiny chrome on. Now, what's odd about this is that generally with chrome pieces, you do tend to get a sort of good face and a bad face, where the chrome doesn't quite cut it. You can see here there's like sort of black areas inside these parts. Now that's fine on this because obviously if you were going to use the chrome parts, which I'm not, you'd get away with the fact that the better chrome was on the other side. But what's strange about this, the designers have decided to put the inside face of the headlights and the inside face of the knockoff parts of the hubs on the good side, and they've put the bits that are actually seen on the bad side. So these have got like a black shadow on the inside where the bulb is, which is a shame because if these had been put the other way around on the sprue, you wouldn't have had that happen. And these here, these have actually got quite a significant sort of sinkhole in the centre where it says Bentley. Now I'm not using these because I've got those resin replacements, but it's a shame for anyone who is using these on the kit because that's something that could have been avoided. But what is interesting is I've seen sprues from the sort of reissues, from more recent kits, and this part, which is the screen surround, the sort of stone guard that goes in front of the two small windscreens, and I've seen this where it's pretty much unusable. But on this, apart from that tiny little bit of flash there, it's actually really, really tidy. And again, I might get away with using that with a tiny little bit of touching in. The other shame here is that if you look at the front of the radiator there, and it's got all that nice detail, including the Bentley logo. And the problem is that you have to cut it off the sprue, which then spoils the effect there. But this is produced years before manufacturers started undergating the sprues here. If they'd have done that, you'd have had a removable bit on the back, which could have been hidden by the fact that it closes onto the other part of the radiator. So it's just a shame there that it is as it is, but as I say, I'm not using most of the chrome anyway, so that that should be okay. The other two sprues, which are the satin chrome, if you like, again, some really nice finishes. I mean, I'm assuming this is the clutch, and you look at the detail on there, and that looks really nice. And again, I might be get away with using some of these parts where the sort of chrome plating survives, and it's also, you know, sort of in keeping with the look of the car. I'm not too sure about the finish on the dash there, but I don't know. I'll have a think about that. Tiny bit of flash in one of the dials there, but that can come out. But again, this has a bad side. You know, you can see the black plastic there, and although most of these parts are these are the sort of rear sides of the parts. Obviously, shame there that, you know, when you glue that piece together, you end up with this seam all around that you can't hide. So again, that'll have to be stripped and repainted. Here's the engine block. Now on this part, you can see here, behind, just to get a bit of focus again, if it'll focus. There you go. Just behind here, this part here is a cylinder, and there should be a gap there that you can see right through to the other side of the engine. So that's another point where that's going to have to be cleaned up. But this part is going to be stripped, so I'll get away with that. The bulkhead on this kit needs quite a lot of work. So again, strip it back. I'm going to replace some of these rivets as well where necessary. There's some sink marks on the face of some of these. Again, I'm going to replace those rivets. And what is nice, I don't know whether they'll show up. You can just see the little Bentley name plates there for the engine, which I'll probably keep as they are, and I'll just run some paint in there and then wipe it off just so it picks out the letters. As far as I know, the floor is correct in this. It didn't have this sort of tread plate. It did in fact have a like a sort of wooden panel in here, so I'll have to do a little bit more reading. There's the number plates for this particular one. And again, you could paint those and then wipe it away and be left with the silver numbers. But I'm not sure I'm building that option yet, so we'll see about that. The body is here. What surprised me about this kit is, obviously when I first built this, I was sort of 10 or 11 years old, and it seemed like a very big kit. It's not as big as you quite remember, although it does make up into a decent size model. There's the two body halves and the doors. What is nice is, because this is a first issue kit, these are very clean. There's a few flow marks in the plastic, but you won't see that under the paint. But there's no distortion. There's very little flash. There's a bit of detail on the inside of the door. Not sure how accurate that is, or whether I need to replace any of that, so we'll look into that. The tyres. Now the tyres don't have any. They've got a reasonable amount of tread pattern. That'll show up there. Hard to see because it's black, but there is a shred pattern there. There's no names on the outside, you know, it doesn't say Dunlop or anything. But I'm going to try, my usual method with these is to rough them up with some Scotch-Brite and leave them in their sort of natural vinyl as opposed to paint them. I certainly won't make the mistake of painting them like I did on the last one all those years ago. But I do have to cut that ring out of there as well. So there's that to do. The clear parts, again, it's a bit of a mixed bag really. So you've got these are the lenses for the the headlights, and there's the screens of the driver's screen and the passenger side screen, and they are as clear as you're ever going to get in a kit. I mean, they're on a par with some of the more recent things I've seen from Mini Art and ICM. This part's not bad. It's supposed to be wire mesh, but it makes a good base to bend your mesh around to get that effect. These are the guards that I'm not going to use for the headlights because I'm going to make them out of wire mesh, is how they should be. The disappointing thing on here is the clock bases for the inside of the instrument panel. Aside from the main speedo, they've all got sync marks in. And considering, you know, this would have been quite an expensive kit when it was first released, it's a shame that it's got these divots in the faces there. You'd have thought that they could have come up with a better solution than that, given that they got these so right and then they got these so wrong. So that's a shame. There's some black components. These are obviously the brakes for the wheels, and there's the exhaust with that strange sort of fan-shaped piece on the back. There's also this here, which I'm assuming that's the sort of underside of the car. This box here, I'm not entirely sure this existed on the real car. It goes under the seat, and it's actually meant for the batteries to go in for the motor. So I'll have to look into if this existed at all, or whether it's just been, you know, built for the batteries. Another part of the exhaust there. There's various little bits and pieces on here. Nice steering wheel there, and it's got a grip pattern on the back. But the ones I've seen in reality tend to have like a kind of, looks almost like that tape that they put round bicycle handlebars on them. That's about to fall off. I'm going to take that off before I lose it. So a few more parts there. The strangest thing is these green sprues. Obviously they've been made in a much larger mold, and then, you know, sort of normally they cut them out and put them in the bag, but these are all still connected by their sort of massive sprue frame here, and it's almost like they folded them over while they were still cooling to get them in the bag. So these twisted bits here, this is all part of the sprue, but it's all, if I do that, you can see it's all connected together. It's just been sort of folded up and put to one side and then shoved in the bag. So it just seems odd. The louver detail on these panels is really nice here, and the chassis looks nice and straight. I'm going to cut these apart in a minute so I can have a closer look at the parts. But overall, it looks pretty decent. So the other surprising thing for me, which I suppose it's from, you know, you've got memories. There's another loose piece there. That's the front axle. You've got memories of these being really complicated kits. I'm surprised how few parts there are in this model. I'm not sure how many parts there are, but it's a lot less than I anticipated. But I mean, it'll still make up into a nice looking model. I did lose a piece on the floor there, which I'll just pick up. That's part of the fuel tank. You can see on here, it's got that kind of mesh pattern, but on this, it's so sort of fine. It looks a bit more like fabric, and it should actually be an actual wire mesh. So this is going to have quite a lot of work done to it. All this will have to be sanded off, and then these frames made up out of brass or aluminium strip with mesh attached to it. So there's going to be a fair bit of work involved in getting that right. But I think overall it'd be worth the effort. So overall, the parts are looking pretty decent. The two complaint slips are there, which obviously long gone from Haldane Place. It surprises me that I don't think this bit on the back ever changed from when I first remember buying Airfix kits right up to the probably mid to late 70s. It was still this this page on the back. And I always used to wonder what these little punched numbers were. They're sort of made up with holes. Presumably there's some kind of batch number or something. And at one time, for some bizarre reason, when I used to build a lot of Airfix kits, I had, I don't know, probably 100 of these in a envelope somewhere, just saved up. Occasionally they used to come in a slightly different colour, different numbers on them. Don't know why I saved them. Don't know what I did with them. They've long gone. Well, they might still be here somewhere. I don't know. I might come across them one day. But obviously no good now. But it just seems strange that I can remember sending off for some parts for certainly some of the aircraft kits. Occasionally you'd have pieces missing. This is in fact one of the first kits I recall having these closed sprues. They're not completely closed because some of the parts are still outside these sprues, but it's approaching how kits are produced these days, where they have all those sort of standard size sprues and they're all sort of enclosed inside a frame. And I think Airfix, sort of they're quick to catch on to that once they saw what the likes of Tamiya and Hasegawa were doing in the 70s. They quickly adopted this, whereas a lot of the Revell and Monogram kits, even ones that were released up to the 1980s, didn't have enclosed frames. I used to build a lot of the 148 aircraft kits from Monogram, and quite often, there was maybe about 20 parts loose in the bag when you open the box. But at least they were attempting to do this, and as they moved on. But I do think it's a bit strange that this is all just connected together by this bent piece of sprue on the back. However, there we are. So short video this time, but next time you'll see, or you'll start to see, some progress. I'm going to get the bits I don't want to keep chrome and drop them in some bleach. I know the Airfix chrome pretty much comes off instantly in household bleach. It's not like the AMT stuff that takes maybe 4 or 5 hours and maybe a couple of changes of the bleach to get them to strip. And it seems to be impervious to oven cleaner and everything else. The Airfix stuff, literally you dip it in bleach and it just changes to the plastic underneath. So I'll dig out the bits I'm going to dechrome, and I'll get that done first before I start cleaning some of the parts up. So again, thanks for watching, and if you want to subscribe or like the video, and obviously then you'll see the updates, and I'll probably have another video out on this tomorrow as a start to just put some basic parts together, and then I'll probably have to do a little bit more research in terms of what I need to change. And there may be a bit of work just literally going through parts, just filling in ejector marks. There's not too many on it, to be fair, but as I go through it, I'll find out where they are, and I'll start filling those in. So Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.